Yeah. Hi, I am V. Rao, known as VSR, and so I'm the chairman for Smart Cities Working Group, IET Future Tech Panel. Today, we are going to talk about very interesting topic called city happiness. That means how you can really enhance the happiness of the citizens, especially with the help of geospatial technologies. Of course, there are so many technologies are available today, like Internet of Things, blockchain, distributed ledger technologies, artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, virtual reality, so on and so forth. But today's focus is mainly on geospatial technologies that include GIS, GPS, LiDAR, and remote sensing and different related technologies. So I have with me a distinguished guest and my friend Rajesh Mathur, very well known in this GIS space. And we are happily celebrating the world's GIS Day today. So on the occasion of that day, it is very apt for us to discuss this particular topic. Let me introduce Rajesh. Raj Mathur is a senior advisor, ESRI, India Technologies Limited. I'm sure if you are in the GIS or GPS space, you know that name. And Rajesh is the senior advisor at the ISRI India Technologies Limited. It's a subsidiary of ISRI Inc., the world's largest provider of the GIS software. Prior to that, he has also held the position of vice chairman of the board and president of the company. So he is an electrical engineer from IIT Delhi, and he has attended general management programs conducted by Ross School of Business, University of Michigan. So, as the head of ISRI India, India's premier GIS products and services company, Mr. Mathur spearheaded the growth of GIS deployment in India and actually involved in many professional bodies. And so he basically is the past president of Association of Geospatial Industries, AGI, and also the former president of Indian Society of Geomatics, IAG, and was honored with IAG Fellowship in the year 2012. Welcome, Rajesh. We are very
Thank
happy
you,
to.
sir.
Yeah. So, Rajesh, I think you eat, drink, breathe everything. Geospatial technologies, I think, throughout probably a major part of your career. So, but today's topic is mainly on city, citizens, and happiness.
Sure.
So let me set the context. I'm sure the World Happiness Index, which has been released by few individuals, of course, still I think, if I'm not wrong, not yet certified by the United Nations or any other professional organizations. But every year there is a World Happiness Index they release, and in that they mention about some parameters, how they measure the happiness of citizens. So one is the per capita income. I mean, per capita GDP of individual in the city, for example, or in the country, whatever, right? Then the life expectancy that will enhance the happiness. If the life expectancy goes up, the happiness will be improved, right? And third is how you are getting the social support. When a person is in trouble, then relatives, friends, are they coming forward and helping? Or because of today's nature, where the humanity quotient is going down, so whether the social support is there or not, when the social support is there, the happiness of the citizens will be good. That is the third important thing. And fourth important thing is the freedom of choice. It all depends on the type of the governance, whether it is authoritarian or dictatorship or democratic based on that. So whether the people are able to take their own decisions or they are driven by something authority or something like that. There are different countries, right? And then generosity in the country or a city. That means what is the charity quotient in the country? If you look at the United States of America, probably Bill Gates, Warren Buffett type of people, they are spending a lot on charity. In India also you have Tatas and Ajim Premji type of people are really putting a lot of money. So that also will enhance the happiness. Then the last but not least is the perception of corruption. Corruption is not just limiting to the government agencies, and also there is a huge corruption in the private and business entities. So all these things consolidated, if you say everything, if everything is really doing well, then people will be happy. So with that note, let me ask you your definition of what you think of happiness of a citizen in our view. I mean, we need not worry about the definitions given by others. As a common
Mhm.
person in this country, so what is happiness? When we really feel happiness as a citizen?
Thanks, VSR, for the introduction. And my greetings to all the participants on the occasion of World GIS Day. Just for the benefit of those who may not be familiar with this term, every third week of November in the year is celebrated as World Geography Day by National Geographic Society, and that means the current week. And the
Mhm.
Wednesday of that week is celebrated as the GIS Day. So that's the day when we organize events. This year, because of the pandemic, unfortunately, there are very few activities which are going on in the country and elsewhere in the world. Otherwise, we spend time with students in colleges, in schools, create more awareness of geography or the science of GIS and all. So to that extent, organizing this chat this afternoon, I think is very contextual, very relevant. And I would like to
Mhm.
thank IET for it, and of course VSR for moderating this session and having this conversation with me this afternoon. See, happiness is, to me, it's a very subjective term. Okay, while the World Happiness Index works on a mathematical model, a scientifically developed mathematical model, however, it's very subjective. We have certain expectations, we have certain aspirations, and if we are able to achieve that, it gives us a sense of happiness. There's some shorter happinesses, which could be you want to get something, you get it, and feel good about it. On the other hand, there are also some kinds of, for want of another term, I'd say happiness, if it's sustainable. And for instance, even in this report that you talked about, somewhere they mentioned, as you're aware, this whole concept of World Happiness Index came about back in 2011. At the initiative of Bhutanese government, the General Assembly passed a resolution asking all the nations to take into consideration happiness and well-being of citizens while determining how to measure and achieve social and economic development. So clearly, happiness would be a significant criteria to determine whether the country is really making progress or not on different parameters. And to that extent, as you rightly outlined, there are different parameters, different indicators. And one other aspect we have to consider is it's also very contextual. When you're
Right.
talking about a city, there'll be a set of expectations. When you're talking about a country, a developing country, advanced country, again, there'll be different considerations. So while this could be a guiding factor, but we'll have to probably articulate it, articulated the consideration for happiness at the city level, at the country level, keeping in consideration
Mhm.
specific characteristics of the situation.
Right. Okay. So we, as a country, out of around 155 countries, assessed around 143 or 144. Exactly, I don't remember the ranking. Why do you think in India the happiness quotient is low? Is it is it because of the systems, the processes, the lack of technological leverage? So, what do you think? Why citizens are not that happy compared to other countries, as per the report I mentioned, or in general?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I can think of many reasons. So, for instance, it's observed. Then, if you, or rather, if you look at the cities which are almost at the top of the list, the Nordic countries, Finland, which is number one as per the
Right.
current report released recently, citizens normally like to live in societies with less disparity in the quality of life. So there's a baseline, if you will, in terms of standard of living, the quality of life, living conditions, and all. And they expect everybody should be almost at par. There would be some differences, and I think in our country that is a huge challenge. We have disparities in terms of economic well-being, and you go to a city like Mumbai or any other city for that matter, you'll find a slum right next to an apartment complex where each apartment may be worth $1 million or more. It's so
Hmm.
visible. There's a
Hmm.
disparity in terms of between the quality of life in urban areas and rural areas, literacy, and so on and so forth. That definitely creates a kind of sense of frustration and unhappiness among the citizens who feel they haven't been treated fairly. But if you look at it in a city's context, I
Hmm.
think the citizens have certain expectations from the authorities, from the municipal corporations and other administrators, and they expect that those expectations should be met, and they would like to hold the authorities accountable for delivery of those services. It could be cleanliness. We all like to live in clean surroundings. It could be education for our children, quality education, easily accessible. It would be safety. We like to feel secure when we move about in the city during the day or at night. Availability of water,
Hmm.
economic development opportunities, job opportunities could be another one. Environmentally sustainable city. The
Sure.
city in which I live, Delhi, as you know, it's a huge issue. It's a huge issue in terms of the level of pollutants in the city. And
Okay.
actually, citizens won't feel good when they look outside the window and all they see is haze. And of course, good infrastructure and other aspects. So citizens expect these kind of services, and I think often we find that our authorities are failing to deliver those
Right.
services.
Actually, we have a mission, right? Our IET, Institution of Engineering and Technology. I think the problems what you mentioned, like whether it is education, safety, environment, sustainability, then governance, and how the services are offered, and disparity, all these things. Let us come back to our subject. Even IET mission is how technology will change India.
Right,
And
right.
I always say we want to go back to the future. Our future
Hmm.
was in 16th and 17th century. India was sort of the number one country in many aspects. We invented so
Very
many
true.
things. Okay.
Absolutely.
Back to the future, my personal view is technology will become an important enabler and also driver or driving force. Let
Sure,
us take
sure.
GIS, GPS, LiDAR, remote sensing technologies. Today, after all, we are going to talk about geospatial technologies. How do you think? Let us talk about the first important thing. If I want to improve the financial position of a particular city, so that the GDP and economy will grow, so that when the economy grows automatically, the per capita income of the citizens also will grow. So,
Hmm.
what is the role of geospatial technologies in improving the economic situation of the city or a country?
Okay. A very important point, I guess, is very important. Okay, let's look at it in two parts. First is the economic situation of the municipal corporation itself, which is supposed to create the infrastructure that we need to meet our day-to-day requirements and also future development of the city. As per a survey, on average, our municipal corporations in India earn 37% of the total expenditure by way of various taxes they collect from the citizens. 37%. So the balance
Mhm.
63% is met through grants from the state government or the central government. Clearly, they are in
Oh,
a precarious situation financially, and they're not in a position to make the kind of investment that are needed.
so
The
they are
other
not
aspect is, yeah,
sustainable.
they're not,
Okay.
exactly. But
Oh,
that's
it's
one,
very
yeah, that's
statistics.
one
Yeah.
aspect. But the economic well-being of the citizens will really be driven by the employment opportunities that exist in the country. How can
Correct.
you create those opportunities? Each city in our country, else in the world also for that matter, has a kind of personality.
Hmm.
If you think of Bangalore, for instance, over the last several decades, it has
Hmm.
been positioned and perceived to be in the IT capital of the country, the Silicon Valley
Right.
of India. Okay, and it didn't happen in a day. I used to live in Bangalore back in 80s. Even at that
Mm.
time, that kind of culture was there. I mean, I used to work for one of the leading IT companies of the country, Wipro, in its formative days, I would say. And
Mm.
likewise, a city like Varanasi is seen as a holy city visited by pilgrims, and also each city has its own personality, which can act as a magnet to invite investment, to invite tourists. Now, Varanasi has to create the right kind of infrastructure so that more tourists come and you can create the right kind of experience for the tourists who visit, pilgrims who visit. On the other
Mm.
hand, Bangalore has to make sure that they can build and sustain the kind of infrastructure that investors require if they want to set up an IT company in that
Mm.
city.
Okay.
Geospatial can play a big role in that. Okay. Geospatial can, for instance, facilitate identification of the locations where these kind of industries can be set up. What would be the infrastructure requirement of those industries so that they can do the business without any hindrance in terms of space requirement, housing for the employees, what kind of employees would be there. If it's a manufacturing company, for instance, they would like to go to a city where there's easy access to the raw material within a reasonable distance, where availability of skilled manpower is, if not in abundance, in reasonable quantity, and where there's affordable housing available for the workers and others. So
Okay.
geospatial can help in identifying, if we say we're looking at raw material, then the
Mm.
city administrators can see in around their city what kind of uh, infrastructure exists within a few hundred kilometer radius, and based on that and also what kind of manpower is available in that area, they can create the positioning kind of positioning statement for the city that this city would be good for these kind of industries,
Oh,
and then
okay.
and use geospatial and other technologies to create the right infrastructure to attract investment.
So can
Likewise,
I
a city,
interrupt here?
yeah, sure, sure,
So that means if I am a city administration authority, so I will make sure that I will create the locations using that whatever the GIS locality there.
absolutely
I will make it up and running in a website saying that if I go
correct,
and search, okay, that geographical boundary, these are all the facilities available, workforce available. So you know that boundary wise, what is the availability of human resources and other resources?
absolutely, absolutely.
That's where the geospatial technologies will be helpful. Okay,
Yes.
fantastic. Okay.
One more point here. See, we have been talking for the last few years about ease of doing business, and
Huh?
as a nation, we have been making significant progress year after year, which is a great sign. One of the cities in the country, Mumbai, has done some real good work in that area, especially in the area of building plan approvals. If you want
Hmm.
to construct a building, be it for residential or commercial purposes, you have to go through the process of getting building plan approval, which used to be time consuming and cumbersome. So they
Hmm.
automated the whole process, put it into a GIS framework, so the builders can apply online for the building plan approval. In the workflow is all automated, so within a reasonable time, which could be in just a couple of weeks, maybe they can get the approval. And it's a transparent process. They will know exactly where the papers are or the case is at any moment. End result,
Okay.
you will find improvement in ease of doing business. You attract more investment and more jobs.
Okay. Yeah, I think we were talking earlier. Can you very quickly, maybe within 30 seconds, how I can improve property tax collection
Mhm.
using GIS technologies so that the economic position of
City, municipal
city can
corporation, yeah,
give
sure.
an idea on that. So yeah.
Oh, sure, absolutely. See, property tax is highly underreported, as I mentioned earlier. Using GIS mapping, you can identify each and every property on the map. Also, their attributes in terms of total space area, plinth area, and built up a carpet area, usage, whether it's commercial, residential, or whatever, and create an online system. So citizens can log in, identify their property by the ID number, get the
Hmm.
assessment done in a faceless manner, and file the returns, make the payment. It's the
Oh,
experience of cities that the earnings go up substantially by
hmm.
doing gas mapping.
Okay, okay. Yeah, that's great. So that's one I think we spoke very well on this economy and the financial position. Let us take the second important thing, healthcare.
Okay.
So these geospatial technologies used to improve the healthcare in a city.
Hmm.
Can you
Oh,
share
yeah.
some examples?
Yes, absolutely. See, I think let me talk in context of the pandemic, the COVID-19 that the whole world is facing today. And GIS has been playing a very, very important role in COVID response. Well, I would not like to use the word management. I don't think we have been able to manage it as yet, but response case. A number of cities, including big and medium and small cities, have converted their ICCCs, integrated command control centers, which are built as part of smart city in some cases otherwise, into war rooms. So
Hmm.
they can build dashboard using GIS. So on a map, everyone can see, all the stakeholders can see what the current situation in terms of infections. They can do
Hmm.
contact tracing. It's been earlier, it has been known that this infection goes from person to person. But there's another parameter which is also equally important, that's location. One of our users, more than one user actually in India, use GIS to do contact tracing geographically. So
Hmm.
if you find that a certain person went to a different location in the past 14 days before he was detected as an infected person, they look that also as a vulnerable area and then
Right.
work on it. Likewise,
Uh,
just one half a point. Okay, several cities have created citizen-facing mobile applications like Jabalpur
hmm.
and elsewhere, where citizens can on their mobile phone know where are the containment zones located, so which are the
Hmm.
areas which are out of bound as they move around in the city. Again, a very
Hmm.
useful application for the cities.
Okay, okay. So let us take rural India, for example. Even today, the healthcare is not that good in many of the villages.
Yeah.
Um, okay. So if suppose there is a GS or GPS type of an app where request is sent by the patient or somebody, is it possible like somebody government a paramedical staff or somebody can go there and do it? So how any situations where these technologies are used for the doctors or paramedical staff go to the location where the patient is suffering? Any examples such
Uh,
type?
yes, yes. You know, in like you mentioned, in rural parts of the country, some of the cities or rather hospitals made arrangements where the ambulance with paramedic staff visit various villages and small towns if there is any their cases reported. Now, before they leave, they have a plan that these are the locations they are supposed to cover, and
Hmm.
using geofencing techniques of GIS, authorities can determine where or did they go actually. So if
Okay.
they didn't get into the area, the geofencing method will tell them that this vehicle didn't go into that area at all. So
Oh, okay.
therefore, even the driver and the staff which is traveling know that they are being watched remotely.
Okay.
That's one.
Okay.
Second aspect in the telecare, if you are monitoring a patient's well-being remotely by using sensors, IoT, using IoT and all, again with GIS you would also know where the patient is at that moment. So if
Hmm.
he or she needs any immediate attention, they can promptly figure out where the patient is and which is the nearest health facility where he or she
Okay.
can be. Another area.
Excellent. Okay. So the most important issue, so what we have been facing today is pollution, environment, impact on the environment due to whatever reasons, industrialization and all,
Sure, sure.
and biodiversity. Biodiversity, I think, really getting impacted, which is going to cost the human beings. So
Very true.
how these geospatial technologies help us to safeguard all this air quality, water quality, and even the biodiversity?
Okay.
Is it
Two
possible?
different things. Okay. Okay. Let's talk about the air quality and water quality. And that has been a real issue in urban areas and also water quality in rural areas also, on both the places. Using environment sensors, of course, one can monitor the level of the AQI in different parts of the city. I mean, you can really go to micro levels, and all that live those live feeds can be consumed by a GIS platform, RGS enterprise platform in ESRE context. It can ingest that data coming in and put it on the map. So
Mhm.
using time series capability, you would know how during the 24-hour cycle, how during 7 days or 30 days of the month, the situation is changing. And then
Mhm.
based on that, you can do causal analysis. What is the cause if there's a stubble farm, burning of stubble in the farm that's causing it? What, what's the impact of wind direction? Because that makes a big difference. And there
Mhm.
again, putting it on a map gives you a clear idea of what is causing the air pollution, and based on which
Mhm.
corrective strategies can be built.
It's like a red,
Likewise,
green, amber on the
exactly,
map.
yeah.
So if I
Yeah,
want to
see on
go
the
to
map
that,
you get,
we know that what is
absolutely.
the air quality there. Yeah.
That's correct. And in case of water, there are sensors located at all the entry points to the river from the city side, no, where the water or the stream of waste is flowing in. You can also determine what is the catchment area for the
Hmm.
pollutants which are coming in. Where are those industries located? Which is,
Excellent.
so once you based on which corrective action can be taken. On the
Hmm.
biodiversity, of course, using remote sensing in GIS, you can determine the forest density, the crown density, and
Wow.
this is
Okay.
done regularly by forest departments as part of the working plan, which they make every 10 years. And
Yeah.
and they also build their plans for the next 10 years, the afforestation drive and all that stuff, like for
Yeah. I
mapping
think
of various animal species
we
and
as
all.
human beings successfully destroyed the environment
Right,
and
that's true. Right.
successfully contributed for deforestation where the concrete jungles we are building.
True,
So I think
true.
the
That's
next
true.
generation will have so many issues. Hopefully, we have to start a journey using the technologies. We should be able to predict what is going to happen and what is happening today. Take the corrective actions, and if it is a future prediction using these technologies, then we should be able to take some preventive actions. My last question to you is. Okay, what government, in your view, needs to do to embrace these technologies, and any policy
Mhm.
changes we need to bring in the city administration
Mhm.
perspective? So, any key message to the city administration how they can embrace these geospatial technologies, improve their services
Mhm.
quality, whether it is water or the healthcare or education, and most of the places sustainability and all. So what is that they need to do? What are the one or two changes they have to bring in? What policies they have to change?
Before that, I just want to say, I also want to give some messages to the citizens. Okay.
Mhm.
See,
Okay.
improving the happiness index has to be a collective effort. Okay. It's not only, we can't just rely on pass the blame, so to speak, to the administration that you fix
Mm.
this problem. We as citizens are equal stakeholders. And that's where I think a lot can be done by us as citizens. For instance, I talked about solid waste management. Okay.
Mm.
Now, one of the cities in the country, Varanasi, I mentioned Varanasi earlier also, have built a very interesting workflow for solid waste management, right from picking garbage to delivery to the landfill using
Mm.
smart bins and all. And they're all geotagged. So as soon as the level of garbage in the bin reaches a threshold level, it sends an alert to the control room. They see on the map where is the nearest pickup van and direct it to that place, etc. But the second
Mm.
aspect, and that's where citizens play a role, is there's not enough space available in the cities for dumping the garbage, the landfill sites. So we are talking
Mhm.
about waste to energy, waste to compost, but that requires segregation of waste at the source, and often citizens don't do it. If
Mm.
we don't take care of that, it will be very difficult. And second
Right.
part, where technology doesn't have a role to play, and that is in the COVID side.
Mm.
We expect authorities to make sure progressively bring down the new infections, we provide healthcare, all that is important and has to happen. How careful are we in protecting ourselves? Recently, in my city, in Delhi, all the major markets were overcrowded with people doing shopping, many of them not even wearing a mask. Any amount
Hmm.
of care provided by the authorities cannot protect them if they are not responsible.
Is it
And last
because
but
of
not the least, yes,
our we don't care?
we don't care. Yeah, I guess one can say that. And last but not the least, on just citizen side, is some of the cities have built mobile applications which enable citizens to report a problem. For instance,
Okay.
you find a broken payment or you find a missing tile or something or a leaking fire hydrant. You can take a photograph, upload it. It'll be geotagged so authorities know precisely where the problem is. Okay?
Okay.
And they can attend to it. Coming to the your real question about the policy issue, let me discuss in context of smart cities. Okay?
Hmm.
Smart city is all about urban transformation.
Hmm.
Urban transformation, any transformation, first requires process transformation and then digital transformation. Process transformation requires looking at the existing business process and see what are the gaps in this process, what needs to be done to make the engagement of the citizen where they are engaged, the citizens play a role in consuming those services. How can we make it hassle free? And once you have done that exercise, then you determine what's the role of technology. For instance, I talked about solid waste management or property tax or water utilities and others. We have to re-engineer those processes to embed location as an important information parameter,
Right.
and then see how we can put it into the enterprise systems
Right.
to service the requirement to provide a much higher level of service to the citizens.
So
One
that
of
means
the
it is a very. I'm sorry to interrupt.
no, no, please, please, please.
Yeah. So that means we need to have a complete transformation in the city administration management processes, and
Very
then
true.
relate that to technological landscape, and then to the geospatial technologies, because location plays a very vital role for everything, anything, and accordingly the
Mhm.
policies needs to be defined. So could you please conclude, Rajesh, with, so in summary, what you think, how the city happiness can be aligned with GPS in summary? What is your view? Citizens and city, the whole. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we are sure. I think first of all, we need more collaboration between between all the stakeholders, the citizens, the NGOs, academic institutions, administration, to collectively identify the problems, define service level standards, the benchmarks for delivery of services. And the second part is collaboration between different departments within the organization, especially in city context, municipal cooperation. We find
Okay.
lack of collaboration of that. I mean, data is kept in silos. So whenever you want to implement GIS technology, you have to recreate the data, GPS surveys, LiDAR surveys, drones, and so on and so forth. And the data lying in silos not being made available to others who can benefit from it. So through a mandate, government has to adopt that policy that data has to be shared. And the
Okay.
second is data has to conform to standards so that
Hmm.
if data is available, it doesn't mean it'll be shareable if it's not interoperable, if it doesn't conform to standards. So adoption standards should be mandatory.
Sure.
Third, we need to do some evangelist work in creating awareness among
Hmm.
all the entities, not just the
Right.
decision makers, but even those who are process owners in the organization, be it a municipal corporation or a forest department or a PWD, defense services, security, and all. The actual process owners, the department heads, had to be made aware. Third, we
Hmm.
need to invest in capacity building, educating students. It's not enough to say we should have more institutions offering geospatial technology courses. I
Hmm.
think the line of demarcation between geospatial technologies and mainstream IT is
Okay.
gone. The two are
Right.
so closely integrated with each other. I expect every computer science student to also acquire at least some basic understanding of location technology, not
Okay.
full-fledged.
Right.
Likewise, the geospatial professionals that understand that it's not a niche technology. They
Hmm.
should also acquire knowledge of some of the advanced technologies like AI, machine learning, IoT. Because
Mm.
the two GIS without those technologies, the two can't coexist. They can't exist without that cooperation. So
Right.
more
Right.
collaboration and
Excellent.
cooperation between different streams.
I think it's a wonderful, probably in the interest of the time, probably, of course, we plan to have discussions on the geospatial technologies in the coming weeks also. Thank you so much, Rajesh. We tried to cover how the geospatial technologies will enhance the happiness of the citizens, touching upon the health or water quality, air quality, then healthcare and governance, and then location-based any health-related issues are there, and all. And different areas. I think location becomes very, very important today, and technology is available. So thank you so much for a wonderful discussion. So on behalf
Thank
of
you.
IIT Smart Cities Working Group, we want to thank you. So just to, I think, conclude, IIT Smart Cities Working Group is focusing on the gross city happiness index, gross sustainability index of the city, and the connectivity index. That means how well the people and machines and things are connected, and then the water consumption index in the city. And finally, we are also working on the village urbanization index with the inspiration from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Pura initiative. So all these things, how we can improve using technologies. That's the whole objective IIT Smart Cities Working Group. So whether it is, I was talking about, it's not just geospatial. There are maybe another dozen technologies are there. So the fusion of all these technologies play a very, very vital role in taking our country back to the future. Thank you so much, Rajesh.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye bye.